Hello everybody, Antonis here. In this third video of the 4-part series of how I was making this girl for 3D print, I will show how I finalized the model, how I prepared it for 3D print in the end, and there is also a 3D code promo code in the description as usual. Alright, so starting with the body, doing some cuts, shaping the block out. And I decided to do the girl fairly flat chested, nothing too curvy. So here I'm doing the collar, and as usual I'm reusing the parts I already had, and yeah, I cut out everything that I didn't need, and I got this little collar. At first I was kind of trying to figure out this type of a breastplate, and I did remove it in the end. Just using the good old cut tool to get the belt in place. Shaping the hands. I did the model kind of symmetrical. It's more to save myself time. The thing is, actually, I was selling the 3D printer when I was doing this model, so I just needed to get this girl out as soon as possible. And I thought, okay, I'll just do it symmetrical. And I finished finished my last print pretty much 1 hour before the client came up, the buyer came up and picked up the printer. And the whole pose here is, since it's a small miniature, a small figurine, she's looking up, and therefore, no, that's how she looks. That's for she's looking up. So if you look down, you'll meet her gaze, just in a direct fashion. So you see, the forearms became the gloves, like this big kind of gloves of a, you would say, a mechanic. Since she's a girl who drives a little Viking vehicle. And I had an idea, like I have the breastplates, I thought about the shoulder plates as pieces of armor, but I ended up going for a really simple design in the end. Shape the legs. Now with the boots. At the time I didn't know what kind of the boots I wanted to have, so just kept them like that. I have symmetry on the boots, but it's not transferred across, so it means that it's not an instant sculpt. And I probably will instance it in a second. So I decided to make the tall boots and essentially reuse the lower leg to create this kind of oogie type of boots. Just cut out everything extras to make them softer. kind of adding some folds where the fingers meet the clothing. The skirt is kind of was pushed out too far, so I'm just pushing it back, shaping it less like a bell. It's pretty funny how she looks without the skirt. Just like a block out and anatomical model. And I got stuck here for a few seconds. And carried on. Probably was checking something on my second screen. Adding folds on the sleeves. If you compare it to the heads video where I sculpted the head, here I had a kind of better idea what I wanted to achieve in the end. And it was a bit more streamlined process. When with the head I was going back and forth with the shapes of the head face features, not really knowing what I wanted. But even here you'll see plenty of elements, like design elements like a breastplate or this part of the skirt, which didn't make it in the end. Also, now I had a pretty good experience with FDM printing, and I knew that my quality certain details would disappear or will kind of blend together nicely with the real plastic, melting there. So it gives you a bit more freedom of be less worried about the detail. And yeah, I keep getting comments about that I should get a resin printer. I still think that resin printers they're too hazardous and too toxic to deal with at the moment. I mean, it's just if you want to get some printing experience, you might as well just use a PLA printer like I have. But if you really need some super awesome quality, then yeah, you have to use the resin printer. Nowadays they have the mass printer. It's really cheap, like $200 American, $250 American resin printer. I mean, you do have to spend all this stuff. You have to buy gloves, you have to buy the mask, you have to prepare the cans, and you have to be sure that your toxic waste doesn't go into a drain. So there's a lot of stuff that they have to take into account when you deal with the resin printers. And after looking like a couple hours of videos, I just decided that it's just not for me right now. I think maybe in a couple of years or maybe next 5 years, we will get the non-toxic resin printer. It will definitely happen. It's like I don't see why it wouldn't happen. So and then I will buy one, but in the coming years. It was the same story with the PLA printers. I waited for a really long time before they got much cheaper. I had friends who were 3D printing in 2010, not 2011, but at the time, like the cost of a little miniature like this would have been the cost, like the little miniature like this would have costed like $200 American to print, and now the whole print is like $200 American. Well, that's like a really big difference. And originally I wanted to I didn't really want to buy a printer because I was traveling and I was in Asia. But I got some quotes, and the quotes were pretty high. Like in Bangkok, they would ask like $30 per one figurine, and again, I want to do like 10 tests to really understand the material blending and science behind it, and to pay $30 and then wait for it and try again. It just was too much, and I ended up doing a lot of printing tests, which I will talk about in the next video, which were quite interesting tests. Like the body is much heavier than the head, so the body infill is really dense, while the head is pretty light. So you see, I've treated the legs. I've combined them together. Doing the belt. I'm trying to figure out how much of the arm I wanted to show and how big the glove sleeves I wanted to make. So here I got the belt becoming a bit too smooth. I think I ended up redoing the belt. I see that some tests for the posing, and it's actually a pretty nice pose. I think I should have spent a bit of time and actually do that pose. That little hand on the chest. It's kind of cool, kind of cute. When I 3D printed this, I actually had some ability for the joints. I was able to rotate parts in and out because of the way I prepared the model. Alright, so I'm combining the arms and the body. So now she got like an open skin and like a really simple dress. Generally, the idea was just to make it as really simple, not to overcomplicate the model. Just keep the style consistent and not to add too much to it. So I'm gonna spread the legs and modify the boots to fit in better. And I'm doing a symmetry copy now. It just ghosted the skirt so I could position the legs better. Yeah, the hidden part didn't bother me too much. I just only needed an okay block out there. So added the soles to the boots. Making the neck a bit tinier. But picking the point where the neck meets the head is actually a bit tricky. I still don't know the best spot to do it. For reference, I just checked the Disney cartoons, Pixar stuff, but I still don't have a really good understanding of it. So here I'm fixing the belt because it was pretty smooth. However, if you fix the high poly model, it's quite tricky. Even though it's not too high poly, it's like 40,000, so it kind of responds to smoothing in a pretty good manner actually. So here I decided to do a bit of a skirt. I used the wax hide tool. Decided to make the skirt a bit proper, not just a one solid block. Created the hole for the collar. And I was just looking for this really small, tiny design bits, like this little cut. I really liked in the middle of the skirt. I was quite proud of it. And I was paying special attention that every part of the model has its uniform thickness and it's all consistent. So nothing is too thin, nothing is too thick. It's a huge one. Huge. Hey, I'm not actually sure what happened or why I got a huge hair. I was like uniform scaling it or something like that. And like I mentioned in the previous video, even though like I tried to do most of the head before, I still got back here of the body and did a minor tweaking on the head here and there. I'm not sure what there happened on the forehead. Some kind of display bug. Not uncommon. So here I was pretty happy about the body, I think, and only did minor tweaking later for the hands, I think for the feet as well. So might have crashed here, something happened and I had to reload the file. Yeah, just grouping everything correctly, so it's easier to manage. And I really had to do it because in the end, when I was preparing it for 3D print, I had to separate all the parts, the head, the arms, the legs, the body. Yeah, right type of the hand kind of gave me a bit of a headache, and I don't think I ended up with the best hand gesture. This looks like index finger coming through. Should have just kept it as fists. Tweaking the head. Well, the connection point between the neck and the head was a bit of a cumbersome point. Here you can see I'm simplifying the boot because I kind of it was looking a bit too complex when I was doing all that arching in the middle, so dropped it and just made it really simple, boat shaped, stylized boots. Combining the hands and gloves. And yeah, like keeping everything separate, all your body parts separate, and only combining them when you need to do it is definitely a way to go and make your life much easier. So you can really concentrate on each shape without being worried about how it's That if you smooth one, that just affects another one. If you smooth a shoulder, how it affects everything else. And if I wanted to get the best quality out of this model, I would have used some auto topology, and I would have got like a really nice, smooth surface. But again, for me, since I knew what kind of quality I was getting from the 3D print, I thought it would be just overkill. And again, I was kind of hard pressed for time to finish the model and the videos in time. So the ears that I spent a good amount of time in the previous video and still fixing them here, trying to get the perfect, well, near perfect shape, or at least satisfactory shape. Just trying to decide how much skin to show. The design here has also been dictated by the use of only one material. Again, because I didn't want to spend any more time after the print is done. I didn't want to paint anything, and I only can print at the moment, or at that time I was only able to print in one material. Even those black, eyebrows and black glasses are just for me to understand what's going on better during the sculpt. Back to the ears. You can see for the ears I was using a lot of unhide, wax and hide. Makes it slightly easier. little cleanup, cutting to get a crisper edge. And yeah, against using pinching, I'm using the cut tool. And getting some depth to the gloves. As usual with the wax hide and then unhide. Same thing here, trying to get something here. I could also bullet out using the leg to cut out the shape. Well, I decided to go with the walk side and the curve tool to get cut, and also ghosted the leg, and then unhid some of those bits. Unhid again, unhid again. And again. I just use a smooth tool to smooth everything out, and then move tool to move bits around. So I didn't like this shape. I wanted to make a cleaner one, so deleted all the outer bits and moved in place. Minor tweaking at this stage, but every time you move something here, you can introduce an unnecessary bump. So have to be super cautious about it. Otherwise, I just have to redo the whole shape and to get it clean. Torturing the ear as usual. So I decided to create a shape to put it inside rather than trying to sculpt it. Belt buckle looks a bit too low poly. Yeah, I can see it was a bit of a strange object. So as usual, we did the cutout to get the crease. Minor face tweaking. And a little pause. So here I combine the eyelids, the bottom eyelids with the face, and then I use the fill tool to make a step of like a merge. Yeah, I think the head took like way more time than the body, or like equal amount of time. Connected the neck and use the fill tool again here to get a bit more of a seamless connection. Alright, here everything got grouped together, and now it's prepared for to be separated for 3D printing. I don't know. Actually, I'm just still trying to figure out some kind of new design. Some random bits I can put around. It will be really simple, but yeah, like a little experimentation. This looks actually it fits the style as being really simple. But I decided that just it's not necessary. And the girl looked pretty nice and simple as she was, so I removed all of those bits. Right here, I started to do the cuts. So I would cut out the head I would use it as a boolean to cut it from the body. So in that way, I have this peg to put it in the hole. So then you don't even need the glue if you have good like cuts. You can just plug in your head into the socket, then you can plug in the legs into the sockets, and they will hold all together really nice and well. And you won't even need the glue, because when you print it, you kind of like squeeze it all together and put it all together, and then it will just fit in really well. I didn't make the cut in the body deep enough, so my head would constantly pop out after the print. But the arms and the legs were great, and even had the mobility for the arms. So here you can see I'm carrying on with the cutouts. Do the booleans. Use the boolean operation to cut out the top. Then I use the boolean operation to cut out the legs. And then I introduce some cylinders there to be the pegs. Because I think I've done the 3D print of this and didn't stick well together, so I decided that I might just as well introduce some silliness and do a nice connections. I got some. I lost a lot of, actually. There was a big crash. I lost a lot of information. It was annoying. Everything later got exported as a separate OBJ. I use the Cura software, which I will talk about in the next video, to get everything prepared. But here I'm just putting all aside nicely and rotating the head or the arms in a better way possible. And it's kind of all grouped together, so one thing gets rotated. The cool thing about 3D Code, you can snap objects to the ground and they will be snapped there, which is quite nice, quite a nice feature. The angle of prints is super important. It will define the artifacts you get. And usually it's hard to get the right one from the first print, so we have to play around. So here I was redoing some of the connections. So you see I'm doing the primitive that would go inside the body. And honestly, you can do them really big. You can do them quite big. Like this one, you can see it's like half of the body. It's definitely just big as that. Then I get a really nice connection. So then I will use that to, I will duplicate the arms and then boolean everything out. Let's smooth the entry point a little bit for easier connection. And the same thing I did for the legs, right? So you can see just doing these big parts, penetrating the mesh, the poke out, and then using the copy of the legs to boolean out, to cut out the shapes in this code, and then I will have a really good connection points. And this is really about it. So let's see each other in the next part, and thank you for watching.